Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. If this is your first time and you're catching the replay, thank you for that. My name is Matt LaMarsh. I am an Atlanta real estate agent or an Atlanta realtor, and super excited to introduce this whole new series. As you can see, we're going through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're everywhere live now. So I really appreciate you all being here and tapping into this conversation. Super excited to bring this whole new series, and it's going to honestly just hold me accountable to the whole thing, because I have been trying to figure out how to systematize and make a very automated system here for content creation. And today's guest is definitely the inspiration for creating more consistent content. So he'll be joining us in just a moment here, but I did just want to kind of lay the groundwork, if you will, for what you can expect from this series. As I said, from Facebook Live on my business page, Matt LaMarsh Atlanta Realtor, to my LinkedIn, as well as my YouTube channel, which is Matt LaMarsh Atlanta Real Estate Agent. So you can follow along all of those platforms, no matter where we've gotten connected. We would love to have you connected there as well. And I'm just super excited about this. So the idea of this whole thing kind of came together when I was watching today's guest actually talk a little bit about content creation and broadcasting a wider message. And so for me, this is a really cool thing that we're able to do. Obviously now, with a ton of video content being created, I wanted to create a space where once a week I will come in here, interview someone that I've connected with via social media, generally speaking, and then reaffirmed those relationships and opportunities, if you will, in person, which I just think is really cool. So today we're going to be asking about who this person is, where they're from, what they do, and this is going to be consistent throughout the entire series. What makes them different? Because I know, just like you all know, that in our area of real estate, there are a lot of different reasons that you should choose to work with people. And I'm really hoping that as people come on here and talk a little bit about themselves, that we can hopefully, build some bridges and relationships here that you guys will all learn from, but also you will potentially pick up a new referral partner, which I'm super excited about. Hi, Eureka. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Thank you. Happy birthday, by the way. And then we've also got Jen Mabry. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you. So as I said, this is going to be an opportunity. And by all means, if you ever want to be featured here or on the show, again, Friday at 4:00 is what our goal is going to be here. I know people's schedules and stuff are going to be a little bit crazy, so trying to navigate that, I think, is going to be a challenge, but I am up for it. And if you ever want to be on the show, literally all you have to do is email me, and I will be happy to shoot you the details. We have a whole Calendly link that you can just get right on and sign up for one of the times that'll work for you. Also, if we need to, we can just pre-record this and then put it out later if that's what needs to happen as well. So here's my email, matt.lamarsh@evatlanta.com. I can shoot you my Calendly link. It's also built into my signature, so you can just sign up right from there, and that will be the quickest and easiest way to do it. But again, this is going to be an opportunity, and I think what's really cool most about this is that at the end of the day, people will be able to go back and search this. So because it's on YouTube, because it's on Facebook and LinkedIn, I'm going to include where these folks are from so that you can actually go search through that playlist and find someone. So agents, if you're new to me or to my ecosystem, if you will, if you're ever looking for a good referral partner, this can be a good way for you to kind of vet them more or less and see if there's someone you might want to work with or keep in your back pocket as a referral partner. We know now that people are literally all moving, all over the country and now all over the world due to technology. So it's awesome, but it also can provide some really cool opportunities to network here as well. So we are going to get right into it. Let me see about our guest here. Stand by. Hold on one second. Trying to get him in here real quick. All right. Also, I'll tell you guys that we have recorded a couple of these episodes already. Really excited about the couple of guests that we've already had on here. And again, timing and scheduling, everything I know is just super crazy. Trying to get a hold of agents is a challenge, especially on a Friday, headed into a weekend with open houses and team meetings and everything else going on. So anyway, that's going to be the goal here, though, is to help broadcast their message. And especially, I can't say this enough. If you are scared of doing video, especially live, if you are scared of doing video in general, actually, this will give us a chance to, potentially edit them if you'd like before they're actually broadcast. If you're good with live and if you want to go live, we can do that as well. But I definitely want to make sure that people have the opportunity to connect with you, right? And so the good thing about live is that you can have folks come in here and ask questions and get a little more context for you and how you might think on your feet. But certainly, if you're a little more comfortable with having a pre-recorded episode, if you will, we can do that as well. So I think that's going to be really, honestly, one of the cooler parts about this is that we are going to have the chance to really. There's 52 weeks next year, right? So we have a chance to cover all 50 states, which I'm really excited about. But obviously, in say Georgia, as an example, I cover Atlanta and most of Metro Atlanta, except for the South Side. So pretty much North Atlanta is my whole territory or region that I service. But I know people from all over the state now, and have been connected to a lot of people from all over the country that I can now, if you're looking in Miami, if you're looking in Orlando, if you're looking in Jacksonville, I have agents literally all throughout Florida and every other state for that matter. So I'm hoping that when you see, someone that kind of fits into your area or maybe where you're looking to move, or certainly if you ever watching one of these and are thinking, there's a great opportunity for me to tell one of my friends that's moving to that area, this is going to be a really cool thing. And this whole idea too was kind of like brought from Instagram. So I had been doing this on Instagram pretty much every Friday around lunchtime or so. But of course, not everyone's on Instagram. So I figured this would be a really good way to get the broader message out, if you will, from all three platforms. So between YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn, I think we're really going to have a much wider reach here. So I'm super excited about it. But certainly, if you guys ever have any questions about this in general, nothing's really, I would say, off topic. I really just want to introduce you guys to a ton of really cool people that I've met. And if you're interested in doing that, or if you've been connected to me, via another channel, I'd like to introduce you to this audience as well. And so if there's anything and everything we can do to support you in your business, I know how important social proof is to all of our businesses. And so I'm really, really excited to, share the content that's going to come out of here. And it won't just be if you're looking to move to that area, or if you're looking to, if you know someone looking to move in that area. I think there will be some really good learning along the way. Some of the people that we have coming onto the show are marketing experts, sales wizards, social media mavens. I mean, really, really high level people that bring just a totally different energy and knowledge and wisdom to this space. So just super, super excited. But anyway, we're going to see if we can get my guest in here. I think I just got something. He is running a little late here. Let's see. Stand by. Okay. If you do have any questions now, though, about this whole thing, by all means, you can put them in the chat, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Always, especially for the live ones, definitely want to have you. This is meant to be a conversation. So if you have any questions or comments along the way, or, once folks tap into the conversation, if there's anything that you want to ask them, that's one of the great things about having a live platform here as well. So that's going to be a really cool opportunity. So I don't want you guys ever to feel like there are not enough chances or opportunities to ask questions, because I'm a big believer that if you have a question, there's probably someone else out there that also has that same question. So yeah. Oh boy. All right. He's coming in here shortly, so we'll get right into it. I know he's super busy, so just the fact that he could do this, I'm very appreciative. All right. Hopefully the audio is good though, and the video is good. Hopefully you guys can hear everything okay. I tested this a little while the other day, and it seemed like everything was good. But if for some reason you ever get static feedback input, please let me know, because once this is recorded now, it's out. So if for some reason you lose us, definitely let me know. I will also, I forgot to mention this. In all of the YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook descriptions, I'll try to include something that, a YouTube channel or an email, phone number, however that person wants to be reached. I will include that as well. All righty. What's up, my dude?
What's going on?
How are you?
I am well. I apologize for the delay. I got caught up with a client.
It actually worked out pretty beautifully because I needed to set the framework for what people can expect here.
Okay.
So this is episode 1, which I was telling everyone, you inspired this whole idea of connecting people from literally all over the world now. And I saw what you were doing, and I was like, I need to figure something out here because I think there's an opportunity, and we both know how important video is. So I think there's a much broader discussion that we can certainly have about this. But before we go any further, the main objective here is to connect people with you and to have them follow you and see what you're doing, because I think it's amazing. But I want them to go and see for themselves how amazing you are as well. So tell the people who you are, where you are, and what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Matt. I definitely don't like talking about myself or saying, hey, come follow me. But my name's Justin Konikow, Southwestern Ontario, Canada. I own a real estate brokerage and a production company with my beautiful wife, Shannon. And we created basically a company that specializes in real estate because we didn't have what we were looking for. And I guess what I do now from that perspective is we're trying to create the most trusted name in real estate from a company perspective. And then from a personal perspective, I realized that a lot of people were in the same place that I was back in the day, right? So I share a lot of how I built what I built and a lot of the media and content production stuff that I happen to be privy to because I do so much of it. Really try and demystify that world for people that want to use that to amplify their voice. And you and I have spent so much time together. I know, you're very thoughtful about how you try to guide people in what you do. So I guess I do it with my own flavor.
100%. 100%. Well, a ton of our friends are here. Of course, Eureka. We couldn't go a day without saying happy birthday to Eureka. We appreciate you being here. And of course, Jen Mabry as well. I was here to say hi as well. But yeah, so Justin, the idea here was that I wanted people to be able to, I wanted to build out a playlist of people that I like, that I trust, that I know that are going to, if I sent you my clients, right, I know you're going to do right by them and you're going to serve them at the absolute highest level. And so the framework is that there's 52 weeks next year, obviously. So I'm going to cover all 50 states. And then we're actually going to go even a step further and start to separate those states into different geographic areas. So Florida was my first example. I know 3 or 4 agents in Florida that, I can separate that state. And even they know people that service much smaller areas. But as someone's watching this, I really want them to be able to go back and see Ontario, Canada, I got a guy, right? Kissimmee, Florida, I've got someone there. So I think it's really powerful. And you and I have talked again at length about video and how important it is. But I'm also, the second tier to this is, and I'm really excited about this part because I think there's a lot of people that are uncomfortable being on video and don't like hearing their voice and watching themselves on video. But I know that you're a pro at that. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to help people with that, because, having someone else here kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off, right? So really, really excited about all of this. But tell the people a little bit, you mentioned a little bit there about, you saw what was happening, you saw what was there, and you wanted to go create something different. So talk a little bit about that and the client experience, more importantly.
Yeah, so I'll touch on 2 points. First, I'll talk about what you're doing with this channel because I think it's an important topic. A lot of people, like, we take it for granted in the industry that we know people that are experts in certain markets and we can refer our clients to them. The general public doesn't understand how that works, so much so that, there's tech companies out there that are geared completely around just getting in front of the clients to get that phone call. And a lot of times the general public don't even know that they're not working with somebody who may not actually be an expert in that area. I just met a couple the other day and they're working with somebody that definitely doesn't know a specific area on a very hyper specific type of product, and that can cause a lot of damage, right? So I appreciate you exposing people to the network, and I think people need to understand the value of having a strong referral network. And you probably spent hundreds of hours at this point with those people, so that doesn't come lightly. Secondly, in terms of how I started doing what I did, it was really of just, how do I get people's attention when there's just so much noise out there, right? And it started back in 2013. I was looking at just the simple process of listing and selling your home and where realtors can really have an impact. And I noticed the same kind of pattern over and over. Well, here's the 3 comps on your street. Here's what your house is worth. We may stage it. We'll put it up for sale. If it's a seller's market, we'll hold offers. If not, well, maybe we'll price ahead of the market and see what happens. But I wanted to become more of a market maker, right? I wanted to be able to come in and do something that other people couldn't do. So I literally looked at the MLS. I'm like, okay, how do I get people over and beyond the MLS? And I was like, well, if I have photos, I guess I could use like other apps and post the photos on the app. So I started playing around with that on the Instagrams and all those when those started coming out. But then I saw, it was a video of Frederick Eklund, actually. It was like a cottage in, like, I think Aspen at the time. And he did a tour and it was engaging. I remember being there with my wife. And, I always tell people, every agent likes to claim I was doing video first, right? And I'm like, well, there's no new ideas. Like, everybody probably did something before you. And I always give credit to that first video because I remember sending it to my videographer at the time and saying, hey, I want to do something like this on my next listing. And he was like, well, what does that look like? I'm like, we'll figure it out. Right. And I remember we showed up at the listing and I remember playing the movie and then doing it over again. I probably did like 9 takes and kind of figured an intro out and kind of figured a tour out. And as I did it over and over and over, I've always refined the process while looking for other inspiration from literally like movies, documentaries, other types of media. And I look at it from the perspective of a creator first. And I guess a consumer first and a creator second. So I look as a consumer, what do I find engaging? What's entertaining? What's informative? And then I look at it as a creator. Well, how did that creator present that to the audience? What did they do that was different that managed to keep their attention? And as you know, I think one tip I'll give your audience right now, we live in a day and age now where, like, you got to get people's attention in 1.8 seconds, right? So now, like, there's no fat. There is no, 10-second intro reel of prime real estate. And I'm Justin Konikow. It's, you're going to be watching a house that, you're going to be watching a video that is a very affordable house with income potential in Westmount. Let's go. Right. It's valuing the audience's attention, and we're restructuring a lot of our content around how YouTube works, if that makes sense.
100%. Well, and something you just said there. So our friend Giselle always says that, we barely have the attention span of a goldfish, right? Which is really interesting because when we talk about marketing and branding and awareness and exposure, that's one thing, but then to convert is a whole nother, right? And so, I think what you guys have done is amazing with, and again, I'll link everything below here, but the channel that you built out for you personally, but also for your brand and everything else that you guys do and stand for, I think is really, really cool. But I don't really think people understand the amount of content that you're putting out. And I think that's one thing that I personally have taken a lot away from just in being very, very close to you and watching what you're doing and how you're doing it. It's on a whole nother level, right? But it takes a ton of work to do that. So talk to us a little bit about your process and just more strategically, 30,000 foot view, how you think about media and then trying to get someone's attention and get them into that top of the funnel.
Well, I'll start with like, what message am I trying to get across to the audience, right? And I'll start with Prime. We do it all. We do residential, commercial, investment, new construction, agricultural. And a lot of people will look at that and be like, well, you know, how do you do everything and really specialize in one? And a lot of my messaging is geared around explaining that we're like a Navy SEAL team. We have expert divisions for each, and sales and marketing still apply to all of them, and negotiation strategies still apply to all of them. We just put leverage points in each of our pillars to make sure that when we're doing a transaction that we're getting the most out of that transaction. But from a content production perspective, we literally create a schedule, make sure that we're showcasing each aspect of it, and we're not just posting houses, and making sure we're not just posting houses in London, Ontario. I'm in Sarnia right now. Like, we're making big waves in the Sarnia and the Lambton Shores market right now. Nobody even really knows that. Like, we'll be having this conversation next year, and it'll be commonplace to all the people that are here, that we've been working, but we've been planting the seeds for what we've been doing for almost a decade. So, you know, initially we never had that structure. It was listening to the audience and having somebody say like, oh, I didn't even know you did commercial. Meanwhile, we represent some of the best commercial landlords in the city and work with some of the top developers and rep some of the biggest tenant leases in the area. But I was like, man, people don't think I do that. Okay, let's structure that. Then it was territories and area, right? Some people will be like, well, you're in London, you're in St. Thomas, you're in Grand Bend, you're in Bayfield, you're in Sarnia. Like, how are you in all these different places? Well, we have partners in all the different places. So now, from a content schedule perspective, maybe one week it's residential in London. Maybe next day it's going to be an investment property in Sarnia. Maybe it's a lakefront in Grand Bend. As I'm explaining this, Matt, you've seen it, right? And you've seen it in the way that I post. But more than that, in the ephemeral stories, it's top of mind that I'm like training myself, that in my stories, I'm explaining that I'm in different areas. I'm doing it on a live podcast right now. I'm aware that every word that I speak is my messaging, but I only got there by looking at my messaging and saying, what am I trying to tell the world I am? And next year, all my messaging is going to be geared around Prime is the most trusted name in real estate. You're going to hear me say that a million times until it's just second nature for everybody.
I love it. I love it. Well, so I think it's really important to give context to our relationship and how, you know, we got connected, because again, I see a lot of different opportunities here, right? You know, I've talked with people about even attracting other real estate agents, right, in their area to their team, right? So I know that people can watch this and it can hit a lot of different audiences, a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. A lot of it just depends on when they find it and how they find it, right? So talk to us a little bit about, you know, what you're trying to build out. I know that you think a lot about future-proofing your business and setting yourself up for you know, the next step, if you will. So what does that look like? And what are you ultimately trying to do within the industry? I think we're losing you a little bit. I can see you. You're a little pixelated though. Hop back on. This is the only problem with going live, right? Is as it happens. That's just what it is. But he'll be back in just a moment here. I do want to I'm still very, very new to this platform, so I appreciate y'all's grace with me here. Let's see. Okay. All right, that's there. Yeah, everything's good. I just know. Thank you, Rico. I appreciate you. This is why I do record a lot though, because you just never know. And especially with live, it can be tough when you're in a rough spot, especially. I appreciate you. I am going to, while we're waiting for him to hop back on here real quick, I'm going to share his Instagram real quick, because if you haven't followed him on Instagram, great follow here as well. That way we can put it there. There we go. Very good. Okay, cool. My thought too around that real quick before he pops back on here was for all the other agents out there, especially if you're only thinking about the future of just selling homes, I think that can be a huge vulnerability. And so my thought around it was, how do you diversify, right? Are you building a business that you can sell later on? Are you building a YouTube channel that you can leverage for sponsorship, something else, another way to make money? Because that's one thing that Justin and I have talked a lot about, and just financial literacy in general is one of those really big topics that I don't think a lot of agents think about or chew on, I guess. And so thinking about productizing, there's a lot of different ways we can go with this. But anyway, let's see here. Okay.
Ooh, I was trying to get back in and wouldn't let me in.
No. So talking about the future proofing of your business, like what's the next scale or next state of the business look like for you?
Yeah, so I was talking to Ray Allen about this recently. I think that's where I got cut off is, Ray always likes to say like, oh, I'll see you out there because we're both trying to build global real estate brands. I'm not trying to build a global real estate brand from the same context that the industry thinks, right? So I'm not in the business of recruiting, if that makes sense. And I'm not in the business of franchising. So what I'm in the business of doing is building an actual company and system. So we are very, very salary heavy. We internalize a lot of our processes. And again, this is where I just want full control of it, right? Because my issue with going into a market and aligning myself with, say, a digital marketing company is my competitor can walk in and just hire that same company. And then now what's my differentiator? So my main focus is building a system and a platform where I can collaborate and partner with people in markets that I have a vested interest in, or with people that I think bring the right culture to the places where we want to be. So that's from Prime's perspective. We want to build the most trusted brand in real estate. We want to build something that is very systematic in the sense of you're going to get an expectation of what you're getting every single time you meet somebody that has this logo on it. And I think that's the biggest challenge in any industry, and especially real estate. Like if I hire 200 agents across Canada, people can say they're part of a culture and a company. Everybody in the industry knows they all operate their business how they operate their business. They communicate with the clients. They want to communicate with the clients. Like they all have their own independent businesses under a banner. That's just not a game I want to play. Yep. Right? I want agents that work with me to feel like they've got the full support of the platform. I don't want them to feel like they have to be a mini me, but I want the consumer to see this and understand what that means, right? So really right now we're building the foundation of that, and that has to do with transaction coordination, marketing and sales, and then a couple hidden secrets that we have that are components of that are ultimately going to lead to the next step. And then from myself, because they're two separate things, my goal is really to educate and inspire through my content and make people feel safe in a place where most people that are in my space are doing it for recruiting purposes or to sell a course or monetize in some aspect, which is fine. I have no issue with that whatsoever, but I'm prepared to give up short-term money to really have that trust. Because as much as I want people to trust this, I want them to trust that what I'm saying is very truthful. And, I'm not saying it just to get them into, a downline or just a path where I'm making a monetary gain from that. I don't use the word downline like towards any specific brokerage,
Right.
but I do mean like if people are looking at me wondering like what's his angle, and even on Clubhouse, for example, it's probably going to take people 60 to 100 hours and be like, all right, where's the pitch, Justin? Like, where's the pitch? Where's the pitch? Where's the pitch? And it's a year later and there's still no pitch. Like, I guess I use the content production as an ideation tool for the brokerage. So as much as I'm giving stuff away, I'm also working my ideas out with the community that we've built, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, that's one of the reasons I love you so much is because you take that approach, right? There are way too many, and I've heard you talk about fake life coaches and everything. And especially on Clubhouse, there seems to be this great divide, right, of the people that are simply there for the idea sharing and the collaboration and the nuance of my idea that you thought about, right? Like that's what I love is when those bricks get built, right? But to your point, there are a lot of people that have kind of come and gone on that platform and got sniffed out pretty quickly, which is really interesting because it's an audio only platform. To me, that's really interesting because this is all you've got, your voice. Like they have to go follow you, they have to connect with you. And one of two things happens. They vet you out and it's true. Everything they hoped and dreamed was possible is right, or you get snuffed out, right? So and that's again one of the reasons that I really appreciate your approach to that, because not everyone, a lot of people will say that, but then eventually it comes back around that there is a pitch, there is something else atop of funnel, whatever that's going on that you didn't maybe see coming. So
my advice to anybody that is in that realm, like I would say it's totally fine. Like I'm okay with that model because that model makes sense for other people. I don't want people to think that they have to build my business. I think the conversation is around transparency. If like, hey, I'm doing this, ultimately this is my end game, go for it. But it's more the people saying that they're doing it for whatever reason they're doing it for, and you ultimately see that there's ulterior motives. I think that's where you lose trust in your audience and your community, and I think that's where I never want to lose that, right? Because I've been there before with people that I thought had my interests at heart, but the second that I didn't serve their interests, it was almost like I was dead to them, right? And I never want somebody to have that same feeling, right?
yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I'm with you. I think if there was just more honesty and transparency, period, right? If you would just come out and say, here's my objective, here's my goal, you'd be surprised how many people would actually support you if they're supportive of it, right? Like, and it may take 60 or 100 hours, but I think that there's a lot of great businesses that are going to be built because someone just said, look, I'm out here trying to make money doing this or trying that, and I need help doing it. I think there would be a lot more people attracted to businesses and things done that way, as opposed to, let me see if I can kind of sneak in. And then all of a sudden, I don't think that's a solid method. On the topic though, real quick, just in closing here, before you tell us where we can connect with you and everything else, on the topic of openness and transparency, I know you and I both have a big passion for the associations, being engaged with, the ethics behind our business, which have long been questioned and challenged. So talk to us a little bit about your association involvement and kind of what you see as a trend in this new media, if you will, age of the associations and ethics and kind of the professional standards now that we're held to, and hopefully where they potentially will go.
I think the consumer is starting to become much more aware of all aspects of our business. I think, they're not just trusting the online search sites anymore for the appraised values that are being pumped out. I think the consumers are getting educated because truthfully, the people that have influence, are people like you and I know, right? People that are putting information out there and people are consuming it on short form content and on social media platforms. That's the reality of the world that we're in today. So the way that I do that is I'm on the professional standards committee, the brokerage advisory committee, and the MLS committee. Anytime there's any type of board meeting relating to high level concerns in the industry, I'm always there and I'm always listening and I'm always engaging and trying to follow up. And trust me, those meetings are not always the most entertaining, but they trickle into my work on a daily basis because I see the cases where things are done improperly. I try to educate people through Instagram and through my social platforms. The amount of DMs and private messages I get about people so happy that I'm sharing things that I'm sharing because they just didn't know it would blow your mind. but I think we all have that ability to do that, right? So this is where kind of the last question you had for me and the whole industry conversation about just, be who you say you are is going to come in line with what you're saying about ethics. Imagine a world where you don't need necessarily a company behind you anymore, right? Like Matt LaMarsh Inc. You have your own TCs, you have your own marketing department, maybe you have your own little creative division. Like there's no reason you need a brokerage anymore. To be honest with you, that's the reality of it, right? Like you should be able to run your own company. If you'd like to have a brokerage to handle the compliance aspect for you, great. But I think that's where community and leadership can kind of bridge the gap of, well, maybe your interest is in being in production or running Matt LaMarsh Inc. and running production underneath you,
Right.
but you're not really interested in being involved at a board level. I
Mm.
think there's going to be different tiers of companies that you can be involved with that maybe do have influence at a national or international level. Maybe you want to be involved in a community or with a company that you have leadership there that is doing certain things to move the ball forward in places that matter to you. But I think it's going to be so hyper specific to the agent and the agent's passions that it's going to almost be like there's a bunch of micro companies that are all there and you can tap into the platforms whenever you want to, right? Like if you align with me, maybe Prime and Mac can work together in some capacity.
Yep.
Maybe not. Maybe your ambitions don't align, but that's okay. We're still part of the same overall community. I think people really need to focus on what their core values are, what their core beliefs are, and not be scared to kind of just go out and get it themselves, and also be able to have an impact at a very high level, which ties into your conversation around ethics. Like people complain about how dodgy our industry is. The only way you're going to change that is by doing something about it. So I spend zero time talking about it, and I spend all my time actually trying to do something about it.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And that's one of the resounding messages over the last year. I feel like when people are like, we just send the 450 to the Atlanta Realtors Association, we don't know what we're getting for it. I'm like, you should attend the meeting.
Yeah.
You can figure out what it's all about. And I'm a big believer in raising that level, right? Raising the standard, because when we put content out and when we talk about our profession, there's a light that we can put it in that I think a lot of people would appreciate. And like you said earlier, there's a lot that happens behind the scene in our business and in a transaction that even the consumer in that transaction has no idea what's going on. And so by shedding light on that, I think you're exactly right. And it's true of the association, nationally, locally, it doesn't matter what level you're talking about. So I
I
think,
can go off on a tangent about this too, and I won't, but like case in point, how many times are you calling on a property that are listing and the agent's been on the market for 30, 45 days, he's getting desperate, and he's like, oh man, they would take like 50 grand less. And that rolls off their tongue. And it irks me because I'm like, you have a contractual obligation to your client. Those words should not be coming out of your mouth, but the industry's complicit, right? It becomes like the status quo. And it's funny because when you don't play by those rules, you get ostracized a little bit by some people or some groups of people that, it's just how business operates. That's just how it works. I'm like, well, you think it is, but now let's get a little crazy and say, what about the digitization and tokenization of contracts that is coming? Like, you can't hide from it. It's going to happen that contracts will not live in the physical form. They will live in the digital form where they cannot be altered. And the backroom deals and a lot of those things are going to come to an end. So I would rather build a business for the future that is open source, that is transparent, that is honest, than be one of those dinosaurs that is, I mean, the commercial real estate world is changing more rapidly than I've ever seen it before. And that should be an indication for everybody else.
100%, 100%. I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. So tell the people where they can find you, where they can connect with you, or whether they're an agent looking to connect in Canada, want to start, a team with your brand all over it, or even just a consumer that's moving. What's the best way to get a hold of Justin?
Well, I'm not for sale and we're not recruiting, so they don't have to worry about that. We're not hiring right now. Like I said, we're not a sales office. Very, very different.
Yeah.
You can go to justin.konikow pretty much anywhere, YouTube, Instagram, if you want to DM me and have a conversation. If you want to learn some of the things that we're doing, then I definitely say YouTube's the spot, and always on Clubhouse with the family.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate you again, man. Really do. And I hope you have a great weekend as well.
Do it again and I'll fix the tech for next time. See you, Matt.
You're all good, man. You're all good. No worries at all. I appreciate you, man. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Justin, again for coming on. Really appreciate it. That's what you can expect. This is exactly what we're going to do for the next 52 weeks. I'm getting a head start on next year. And this is what you can expect from this series. So again, whether it's Canada, one of the United States, we're going to have someone, at least one from every single state. We've already gotten Texas covered. We've got Oklahoma covered. We got Florida covered. Now we have Canada covered. So I'm really, really excited. I've got 18 folks lined up already just in the last week to bring to you. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you found any value at all, I would love for you to share this. If you are not subscribed to YouTube, please do that by all means. And if there's anything else that I can ever do for you, please, please, please don't ever hesitate to reach out, whether it's finding your next referral partner here, creating video content, talking with industry leaders, whatever I can do to help you, I will do it. I really, really appreciate you all. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.